This Omega Seamaster was presented by many reviewers and media publications as the Rolex Submariner killer.
Hello Q, I've missed you.
But is it though? I spent some time with this unusual Omega Seamaster Professional 300 James Bond Edition, and here's what I think. I try not to judge watches too harsh before I see it in the metal and try it out. Basically before I have my hands on the watch. It's not a rare case when you like a watch in photos or videos and it does nothing for you in the flesh, or other way around. And this Omega James Bond Seamaster NTTD in titanium is a good example. I like it in the photos, but I thought, it's great, but it's not for me. Now that I spent some time with this watch, I can say that it is a watch for me. Not ideal, but it's great, and maybe even nearly perfect watch. So let's dive in. The model was created in collaboration with Daniel Craig for his last James Bond movie, No Time to Die.
Your watch,
How strong is it?
fairly strong.
That's if you were wondering what the NTTD abbreviation means. I will start with these three things that surprised me about this Omega Seamaster. The watch is very light, even on the bracelet. No wonder because it's a titanium watch, but it's still quite surprising, especially if you know the heft of the regular Seamaster Professional 300. The watch is slimmer than the regular Omega Seamaster. The watch is beautiful but subtle and not too flashy, again compared to its more known siblings. The retail price though is too steep in my opinion. In general I have a hard time to cope with the current Omega retail prices. It is especially hard when you remember how much Omega did cost not too long ago. But hey, everything gets more expensive these days. The retail price for this Omega in Canada is 13,600 Canadian dollars. For comparison, the Rolex Submariner price in Canada is 11,700 Canadian dollars. With this price difference, a person really have to like that Omega to choose one over the Rolex. Given the issue with the Rolex availability, you may not have a choice, but still. But the secondary Omega prices speaks for themselves. You clearly can see the market correction, and I think that the gray and the secondary market Omega prices are great for what Omega watches offer. I want to take a moment to say thanks to Wrist.co once again for letting me spend some time with this great Omega. I'm really thankful to Ren from Wrist.co for letting me have my hands on some very cool watches. Check out Wrist.co Instagram page, they are a pleasure to deal with and always have cool and interesting pieces in stock. In the description there's a code that you can present to Wrist.co and get a special price. Okay, back to the Seamaster. A cool thing about this model is that there is no visible indicators of the watch being a part of the Bond collection. No hands with 007 signs or any James Bond signs on the dial. There is only a back of the watch that is signed with the 007 information. And that's a good thing for those who like the watch but not really fond of James Bond franchise. The overall finishing of the watch is superb, as you may expect from Omega. Everything is done tastefully with finesse. I feel like that's the proper word to use here. The case is fully brushed that gives the watch a very rugged look. In this footage I have this Omega together with another piece that was featured in the movie, my Rogue Territory Wax Supply jacket. I love the jacket and I think these two pieces go very well together. Both are vintage inspired rugged pieces. But here comes the controversial part. This Omega Seamaster watch has a very prominent vintage design. I personally don't have any issues with that, and I quite like the design. But for some it could seem like the model is trying too hard to look like a vintage watch, and I can understand that point of view also. The good thing is that now you most likely would be able to buy or order this model from AD. It wasn't that easy at the beginning. Most Omega watches are generally not hard to buy, but with some models it's not that simple. Models like Speedmaster Snoopy for example, that's rare and goes way over retail on a grey market. This No Time to Die model was also quite hard to come by and the grey market prices were also higher than the retail. Not anymore. As I mentioned before, if you compare the buying experience this Omega with buying experience of popular models like Submariner from a Rolex AD, it's very different, especially if you have no special relationship with any Rolex AD. Now let's get some facts and specs about this Seamaster. So here we have an unusual to regular Omega Seamaster Professional 300 variant. The case is also in 42mm, but it's made of grade 2 titanium. This is a fully titanium model that comes on the titanium Milanese bracelet with the weirdly huge clasp. More about that later. The dial has no regular Seamaster's waves, but rather has a beautiful deep brown surface. It emulates the tropical vintage look. The rest of the design is pretty much the same as the Seamaster you know and love. The applied markers and hands are filled with fox patina colored blue superluminova lume. The aluminum insert on the bezel also with the lume. The hands are satin brushed The brushing is similar to the modern and now discontinued Omega Seamaster models. On the dial you can see the broad arrow, which is a British military army symbol that indicates the British government property. The watch has a domed sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating inside. The crystal is catching some glare, and it is a difference compared to the regular Seamaster that has anti-reflective treatment on both sides. There are some pros and cons to both options. The watch thickness is 13mm. The lug-to-lug size is about 15mm. The lug size is 20mm, which is a standard. The weight is 92 grams. It's a very light watch. The 007 edition diver is powered by the Omega's coaxial master chronometer movement 8806. Let's talk about the movement because I feel like it's kinda important. This is an anti-magnetic caliber 8806 with about 55 hours of power reserve. And the same caliber used in smaller watches like Seamaster 40mm and the 60th anniversary Seamaster in 38mm. The watch is anti-magnetic for up to 15,000 Gauss. And that's where it gets ugly. The caliber diameter is 29mm according to the watchbase.com, but there is also information that the diameter is actually 26mm. In any case, the movement is too small for the Seamaster 40mm case size, and it's getting even worse with the 42mm case of this particular James Bond Seamaster. I don't think it is a very good move by any brands to use movements much smaller than the case. Other models with no date like Seamaster Necton Edition or Seamaster 1948 are also powered by the same movement. It's not a deal breaker for me, and if I really like the watch, I would not care that much, but it's rather upsetting nuance I want to address. The watch is with 300 meters of water resistance of course, and the screw-down crown, the usual to the Seamaster helium escape crown, is also there. The bezel of the watch is lumed, which is a nice touch. It also has a NIAD back case system on the closed back case. The system is to make sure that the back case is always oriented correctly. Now let's talk a little bit about the Melanist titanium bracelet. I read many not too good things about the bracelet and the clasp. From my experience I can say that the bracelet is very light and quite comfortable, but the buckle is something that is ruining the basic wearability of the bracelet. It was comfortable enough for me, but the buckle is huge and it looks a bit weird with its 3 layers of the bracelet. So is this watch the true Submariner killer? I don't think so. Of course you can compare anything to anything, but to me those are two different watches. I don't think that this Seamaster and the Submariner are true competitors. They both are great watches, but they are very different by the appearance and the design, and they actually both can live well in the same collection. Let me know what you think about this James Bond Omega Seamaster Professional in titanium. Do you think it is a more superior watch to the Submariner, or is it just a totally different watch? Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, consider subscribing. I really do appreciate the support. I will see you next time. Bye now and take care.
We haven't had the time to test it properly. Just be careful.